Hello, Internet, hello future me. It is 10:51 p.m. on Thursday, 1st of February, 2024. So, I hope this video doesn't get too long, but I'm not livid now. I was during the screening today. It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous how many people use their phones during the screening. And it's not like kids. There was a girl that's like, I don't know, at least in her 20s, I think, constantly using her phone. And it's not like they adjust the light or anything, or they try to cover it. Like, well, one, their attention span is already fucked up and disrespectful. I could try to ignore that, but the problem is they have their phone at like the brightest setting. Like it illuminates the whole area. And they don't cover it, they just have it right in front of them. So obviously it's gonna shine in my peripheral vision. Periphery, you know. But it's not just the girl to my right, but also to my left, this 60-year-old man, a 60-year-old man doesn't know how to have this common sense to not use a phone, you know, during a film. It doesn't matter if it's a more indie film. Like, if you're in a movie theater, you don't do that sort of disrespectful stuff. Like, why come to a movie theater if you're gonna just play on your phone? It's crazy. And then the ridiculous thing is the person to my right, the second right, 2 seats to my right was also using their phone at one point. And it's just, ugh. And the thing is, this is, like, the screening I just went to was the most packed and seemed like the most casual viewers. So, I mean, maybe this is sounding a little elitist or whatever. But they seem to not understand film etiquette. There was so many people talking, there was so many people on their phone, dropping their phone, which seemed to be a very common thing. Even in the other screenings. I didn't have anyone, you know, turning their phone on right next to me. But almost every screening I've been to during this international festival, there's at least one person dropping their phone. And it's only an hour. Most of the screenings have only been an hour. And there's always one person that drops their phone because they're playing on their phone when they're in a movie theater. Like, what's the point? Like, it's crazy. But yeah, that was the first thing. Like, I was trying to ignore. This girl kept using. And then I was like at my boiling point, about to be, or at my tipping point or whatever. And then the guy, a 6-year-old guy next to me started using his phone too. So, you know, I finally snapped. But I was trying to be nice with my words. I was like, you know, using your phone is very distracting, you know. You shouldn't be doing that while watching film. He's like, oh, just focus on the screen. What? Oh. Some people are so, I can't say the R word, I guess, but truly, they are the R word. It's common sense, right? To not fuck other people, at least in the movie theater. Is that too much to ask? I'm not, like, don't talk. Don't flash the brightest light in front of other people's face right next to you. The it's crazy how some people are so R-word. So yeah, and I was so frustrated. I couldn't concentrate on the film for like 20 minutes, which I know that's another problem I have to fix. That certain things get me very frustrated, and I cannot control it. I'm trying to, just breathe in, breathe out, but it really ruined the experience. And the film, I actually enjoyed the film. It was by I have the name because I want to remember. Rachel McLean. I'm gonna talk about her in a second. But speaking of anger, just one thing I was thinking about, which now that I really think about it, it's kind of fucked up. But I always kind of romanticized like anger or frustration because it seemed like adulty, it seemed mature. Um, so I think those moments were when I was smaller or throughout my, 22 years, almost 23. Um, I would let myself get stressed and angry because there's this. I mean, I kind of can tell why or where this thought originated from. I don't want to explain, but I think whoever watches this would understand. But anyways, this I I think like subconsciously I still have this like weird connection of maturity and anger. So I would let myself get stressed and angry because that seemed adult. And now I have problems with stress and anger. And I think it's also the fact that the country I'm in, the environment I'm in, induces a lot of stress because of certain things like that. I think Japan just, I don't know. I always thought it wasn't that much to ask to not bother other people because Japan's a very nice country where people don't bother each other. Not in the sense that, you know, they're quiet amongst each other, like you don't talk to strangers. Well, like it's part of that. But also, you do things to make sure you're not fucking other people. That is non existent here. Constantly, the people next to you are fucking you. It's ridiculous. Um, it's, yeah. And then the lack of convenience and all that, is stressful. And I've had, I mean, not recently, but when I didn't fucking have a place to live, um, I was going, I was trying to do different stuff where people were constantly financially exploiting me, even though I didn't have much money. I was not experienced with, I still have a lot of trouble with confrontation and, anxiety and insecurity. But I was put on a spot so many times in such a short time span, time period of being exploited by a lot of people because they knew I don't have that capability to, one, understand that I was being exploited, and two, the ability to confront against it. Um, well, the thing is, like, I was starting to catch on being exploited, or in retrospect, it's way more clear. But just frustrating that these things happen. And I guess it's better that I had that so I can learn it at least. But I think I need to be exploited a lot more to be really comfortable enough to confront people, which is unfortunate. But yeah, um, yeah. But I'm staying here, I guess. And I don't understand how this country is like one of the top 10, top 5 most comfortably livable place. Like, really? I talked to some guy was saying it today. It's like, I think it's to do with the freedom in drug use and gender and that liberal value that's, you know, very popular here. And it's that's definitely important. I feel like, well, not all drug use, I guess, but like in terms of like weed, the way it's treated or like how people express individuality in countries like Japan, that would be shamed upon, like huge, or socially shunned, if you're in terms of like how you might dress yourself, how you might dye yourself, and then like, if you're queer, you're kind of fucked. Although Japan's still slow, but the younger generation, I feel a little. But then I remember a colleague that said some crazy sexist stuff. But that was one incident. So I don't know. I don't know if I told the story, but I remember this guy was saying like a girl who watches like gay porn is like the worst human being, or like such a horrible human being. And I was like, huh? And I was like, isn't it like you watching lesbian porn? I was like, oh. And then that conversation ended. Like, yeah, that's yeah. That was a weird, I didn't expect it from. Well, that moment was like, oh right, Japan's still at this level. But then like me homogenizing Japan based on that one interaction is also, part of the problem. But anyways, now I want to talk about film that I watch. Starting off with this time I have the names. So I'll start with the most recent I just came back from. Um, it was Rachel McLean's pop culture potpourri. I don't know what potpourri, but I'm not gonna start searching it up because I don't want this, these videos to be me searching stuff. I mean, I do search stuff like quick stuff, but I don't want. I want these videos to be from my brain, not from Google. So I don't know what potpourri means, but wait, it's still recording, right? But yeah, anyways, potpourri. So there were four. Yeah, there were four films. Some of them are really short, or one was short, and the other three were kind of long. Um, it's in the film. I don't remember the. Oh no, there was five actually. I remember those five. The first. Oh, okay. First of all, she, the director, she has a very distinct style. It's the aesthetic is very similar. If I describe like Belle Delphine, it's that sort of aesthetic, or like oversaturated pink kiddishness with weird sexualization and like body gore, and then like weird humor. I mean, there's less sexualization than Belle Delphine, but the the costume, the set piece aesthetic is very, very vivid and saturated, oversaturated. Um, with like crazy, like almost like wearing different toys, and oh, they all have face paint of like blue with like rainbow cheeks and white and like painted shades and like crazy dresses all over the place. It's very interesting, and every dialogue is uh like um what's the word? Every dialogue is from a different source, and the actors would lip sync to the recordings of from different media, not just film, but could be from like an interview, a song. At like one point, like this person had her head like um, dismembered, but she puts it back on like a horror. There's like this whole horror-esque scene, but everything's so ridiculous. It's kind of funny. And then she starts walking like a model, and then she looks at the camera and she starts singing one of the Black Eyed Peas song. Was it? It's not I'm a Bee. Was it? It's not Boo Boom Pow. It's fuck. Now I need to know. Black Eyed Peas. It's in the I'm a Bee album. Wait, is it? No way. Boom boom. Oh, Rock That Body. No. I think so. Yeah, I think it was Rock That Body. No. It was I'ma Be. I don't know. But it was humorous but weird. Yeah. And then there's a very homemade-esque where it's not like the greatest CGI. It's green screen, but it's kind of cool. The CG aesthetic kind of reminds me of Ben Levin a bit. Kind of. But Ben Levin's like a whole nother thing. But it's along the lines of that homemadiness, sort of. It reminds me of Ben Levin because there was like this one bottle liquid that looked like a dog, and it was really similar to him, his like dog character. But yeah. Oh, and another homemadiness is that she does most of the work, so a lot of the shots are like her with different costumes and face painting and whatnot. And I really like one where it was like a surreal dream. It was almost like Alice in Wonderland but contemporary and like really fucked up. Cause it's really like Belle Delphine aesthetic, but on like DMT, but the DMT that comes when you're about to die, like that sort of extremeness, you know. It's a hallucination that if you're really seeing that for real life, you're gonna die. But yeah, um, that's what it was. Yeah, and it was so surreal. Like I like how it's dreamlike in the sense that there's consistent settings or reappearing settings and characters, but it keeps changing. Like the role of the characters, the size, their voices change because it's all recordings from other medium. Um, uh, the Sometimes the character is a child, suddenly it's an adult, and then suddenly the adult and the child are two different characters. And then there's also a dog that suddenly is a king, but turns out that king is its own character, and the dog is still a dog. Like, it's very confusing and muddled. And there was also a person looking at double rainbow, like very high or after a hike or something. It's crazy shit. I liked it. Uh, that was an interesting one. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of her stuff is about consumerism, capitalism, critiques, and colonial. There was another one about colonialism. Um, the thing is, I found that a bit boring, and I realized one reason why is that it wasn't directed by her. Although the costumes were by her. And it was more about colonialism, but it was about UK, and she was using a lot of recordings based on UK media, so I really didn't get the reference. So I didn't understand a lot of, I think, or it was also during the time when I was really frustrated from the fuckers like next to me, so I wasn't really absorbing. I was in my own head, like getting frustrated, trying to calm down, getting frustrated, trying to calm down. Um, so I kind of missed that part of the film. Um, but it wasn't. It was okay. But then, if I'm seeing this like crazy out of the world thing, and it's another critique of consumerism and colonialism. It's like, I don't know. Like, I understand critical theory. There's four main aspects, right? Colonialism, capitalism, queer, feminism. Is that it? I mean, there's probably more, but it seems like that's the very common narratives, and it's kind of ironic because critical theory is about criticizing common narratives, right? Common normalized conceptions. And the fact that there's just this four common categories constantly reappearing, isn't that, you know, shouldn't critical theory be criticizing every aspect, not just, you know, being on the side of politically left? Not agreeing, like, not just being on the stance of politically left, which being politically left already puts yourself in a frame where a lot of things that should be criticized doesn't really matter because the main criticism is against racism, sexism, you know, anti-queer. Homophobia is not. It's just anti-gay, anti-LGBT, you know, anti or pro-consumerist, pro-capitalist. It criticizes that. Oh, criticism. Uh, what am I saying? But like, a lot of focus is on that, you know, on trying to build like socialism and all that. But there's so many other aspects to life and society than just those categories. But a lot of critiques and critical theory just focus on that. So it's like, you know, like focus on something different, like fucking Energy, like that film about looking at life through energy consumption, which I was taking, right now I'm taking a course on food and nutrition. And the thing they talked about in film was one of the only, or like the only measurable energy is the watts, the electrical energy we use. That's not fucking true. We can literally count calories. There's calories and there's joules on the packaging of every food. They tell you how many grams um, of different nutrients, you know. Like we measure that too. I don't know why they focus on just electrical energy, which I know the film didn't necessarily do that because they had some emphasis on like the biological energy. Oh, a lot of biological energy, but never. And then there was like one scene where he was eating while writing the listing energy. So I assume that eating action had significance in terms of like displaying like another aspect of energy in our life, but they never really mentioned calories, which is very countable. So yeah, maybe I don't know why, or maybe they really wanted to focus on electrical energy consumption. But then why the last scene where you use a seed to bury yourself? I don't know. I mean, the thing is, a lot of artists are not scientists, I think. You know, interdisciplinary. I think what's really cool about so now I'm moving on to Dan Harmon because you know he's a cool guy. Um, the Crapopolis kind of made me lose hope. I guess that's the present him, so I was like, you know, maybe he fell off a little. Well, I mean, Dan Harmon's cool. He already did so many cool stuff. Um, but yeah, I started listening to the Harmon podcast, and he's really funny. With what's his co-star? Jeff Newman. I don't know. He's a very funny guy too. But I really like, you know, Harmon's a very self-deprecative, um, hyper-aware, you know, humor, commentary. But what I really found fascinating is from time to time he would put little biology comments. Like, so I was thinking, huh. I was like, at first it was like just one episode. I was like, oh, that's some. I guess he read something about some chimpanzees that fuck a lot, and then he was like talking about other biology stuff throughout different episodes. I was like, huh, maybe he's more than just some guy who watched a lot of biology YouTube videos that came in as a recommended. So I searched up like what he studied, and I don't know the extent, but it seems like he has studied biology in college at the, not Greendale, but the other Greendale college. So maybe he has that background in biology, and that was like, oh, that's very cool. Another relatable. He's not only schizo, but he also has a biology background, just like me. So, you know. And when I talk about schizo, it's not like, it's just what I recognize. It sounds really narcissistic because I think these videos are very schizo in the sense that it's really revealing my own world within my brain, which is so sometimes the thoughts are so isolated from like logic and well, I use logic, but it's different from normal sequence of logic. It's hard to describe. Um, like some of the things I say probably don't make sense, but it makes a lot of sense to me, if that makes sense. And that sort of unhingedness, I feel, is like an artistic seed. Oh God, but my point was like I recognize that in a lot of the Q&As uh, I attended during the film screenings this week, including and also listening to Dan Harmon. He says some stuff that doesn't really necessarily is like true, but I would still agree that it's correct, or it's correct within a realm, like within the Harmon realm, within some aspects of reality. But it's hard to say. So that unhingedness. But anyways, Harmontown made me kind of like him more. But he's not like racist, sexist, but he does go to the race well a lot. But in a sense, that's maybe he does have some implicit level. I think a lot of people like us who have been brought up in such an environment, it's very hard to be aware enough or get rid of that implicit level, you know. But at the same time, he is really just twisting, all these bigotries into humor. But then, I don't know, the way he does it is still like a little bigoted, maybe. But it's just so tiring for me living here of like constantly thinking, oh, is this bigoted? Is this offensive? So it was kind of refreshing to listen to some of his jokes. Although I can really tell from the things Harmon says, I feel like he's doing the same thing of, being hyper aware, making sure nothing's offensive, nothing is bigoted. I think I sense that. But yeah, I don't like. I kind of idealize harm. I mean, I have a fucking cardboard cutout in the background. But me now talking about Harmon this much is gross. I don't like this. I don't like. I guess I like idealizing, but it's weird actually. Verbalizing my idolization is gross. I don't like it. I'm going back to the film. So, Rachel McLean. Yeah. There was a really funny one. The first one we saw was like really, it had a very homemade vibe. It was like about Britney Spears, about being a mother or something, and then like something about America. Highly edited, highly super green screen-esque aesthetic, and it's also like low resolution. Interesting. A lot of weird cuts, including the playing of the music of it kept doing that do do do. What was that? What's that song? I'm trying to play the song in my head until I find the lyrics. That's the title of the song. I'm not that innocent. No. Anyways, everyone knows that song. It kept going do 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 and then cuts off and keeps repeating until like almost like giving us that release of finally hearing that continuation of that song, because it kept cutting it do do do. But I kept repeating the recording of an interview of her becoming mothers. Oh no, I'm tired. It was interesting. Oh fuck. And then there was like another one was like short. That Britney was kind of short. There was another short one that was really funny. I was like constant ads, like generic ads, bombarding on, or like sequentially, but bombarding on this person. It starts off with like a nice, like cleaning, smoothing face mask thing, and then like the woman was getting stomach aches, so then suddenly the face mask woman was like, there's a yogurt, and there's like a yogurt ad, and the yogurt ad makes her, she eats the yogurt and she gets sick, so she vomits, and then there's like this weird being that's like, oh, you vomit, it's dirty, well, there's a mask spray to clean, and then the person, like, the weird being, like, hits the woman, and it's like bloody all over, but then sprays and then cleans the blood like it's part of the ad. It was like really weird and interesting. And then I guess the highlight of the presentation, the screening, was Duck, which was a film made with a deep fake, like AI facial imaging of, it's like a spy movie bringing back what with Marilyn Monroe and a bunch of actors that has been in spy movie, all 007. Maybe they're all 007 actors, and they're all like they have their weird AI, and when the voice is also AI. Interesting. It's about ducks because it's based on this quote of, what was it? If it quacks like a duck, if it looks like a duck, if it does something like a duck, it's probably a duck. And it's this whole idea of like trying to, decipher reality in this current digital techno space of, the presence of AI that fucks what's real, what's actually happening. And then it's like manipulating newspapers, and then it's also called ducks because there's this whole idea of like the UFOs, like conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is another aspect of how realities, also the perception of reality is becoming more radicalized because of social media and all that, where it creates echo chambers and clickbaits and all that shenanigans. And then the UFO in the newspaper wasn't actually an upside down duck because they're a bunch of ducks, but that has like invaded Earth, but all the ducks are Marilyn Monroe. So there's like a lot of Marilyn Monroes, and there's like a picture of Marilyn Monroe like pulling her facial mask to reveal she has like a duck face, and there was like a bunch of duck face people because the Marilyn Monroes burned and then leaving their true duck faces. It was like weird shootings and weird stuff happening. But then in the end, the upside down duck comes and then it beams like a UFO. So it's not a duck, it's a UFO. Like the whole like perception of reality is just so skewed, but with playful humor. Like there's like one scene where this agent and Marilyn Monroe was talking, and then they kept trying to rewrite reality by changing the headline and the image of the newspaper. And in the end, Marilyn Monroe changes the headline to "She gets shot," And then the agent's like, huh? I haven't shot you though. And she, breaks the fourth wall, of course, and says like, it's gonna happen or whatever. And then she shoots herself. She dies, goes on the ground, and the agent goes like, well, that's what you call drop dead gorgeous. Like, such a dumb joke, but I liked it. That was a fun film, and an interesting way to depict the current climate of truth through media. It I honestly didn't see that many media related films. I guess the other one was the one from Thailand, which was whack as fuck. Um, I talked about that, right? I think, yeah. I think that was on that was on Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so that was the most recent film, and it's already 40 minutes in. Oh my god. Um, so it was an interesting schedule today. Before the screening, I was actually at a different city because my job or the agency, my employment agency, or the agency that has employed me, because I'm doing employed and freelance, which currently they both don't have available shifts. And I didn't know that, but I didn't know that was a thing before signing up to this work. And it's, yeah, I don't know what to do with money. But anyways, they had this event where they would take like professional photos, proper link for LinkedIn. So that's why I'm wearing this suit, but it's like Uniqlo suit. I think that's fine. My only worry is they had like very nice lighting, but I always put facial cream on me because I get really dry skin. But with that flashing lighting, my face gets a little reflective. So hopefully it's not too bad. Like even this lighting, like you can kind of tell. But I rather look a little oily than fucking dried up. Like it's sad that that's the choice I have to make. I don't really have a middle ground. Maybe I could try using less cream, but I really use a lot less. I thought. Oh well. Yeah. So yeah, and then to get to that other city, and then it was like a little drinking as well, cause I guess it's a take a photo and then hang out with your colleagues for drinking. It was nice, but I was only able to stay there for like 2 hours. When the event was starting to get good, I had to leave so I could go to a screening because I'm not gonna fucking miss a screening. Yeah. But the worst part was to get there. It only takes like 30 minutes from my city, but I took some random ass train that went around the country. And it took me like an hour and 15. So that was, yeah, whack. But yeah. Anyways. So before that, so I had class in the morning. Genetics. I like talking about film, and then suddenly, oh yeah, I also had genetics. I like that duality of me of being a biologist and a cinephile. Cinephile, right? That's the right word. I know because Daryl. Oh yeah. Daryl from The Office was bragging about how he's a cinephile. And I would want to say I am, because, one, I like watching film, but also I want to direct and write. So yeah. But I also like biology. I had like a little introspection thinking, do I really like biology? if I'm just compensating. But then I thought about it. It's not, well, one thing is like I don't have to like choose, I think. No. I don't think film and biology is at the same level of how much I'm passionate, but also it's dynamic. The level of liking biology versus liking film and art philosophy changes a lot. Like sometimes I like biology more, sometimes film or philosophy. So, but yeah. But anyway, genetics. And then right after that, because it was kind of a short class, I went to another screening that was a competition screening. So it was a compilation of 4 different unrelated films. Sadly, no director to, talk about the film in between. The issue was, though, I found a lot of films boring, which, you know, just because something is like unengaging, or also I was pretty sleepy, so I actually fell asleep like between different parts of the film. I tried to wake up. But I never really, when thinking about like conceptual films, experimental films, I don't really, I haven't really thought about engagement. Because the truth is, a conceptual film, engagement shouldn't be such, well, I don't think engagement is necessarily that value compared to a lot of the other elements that should go in a conceptual film. Because it's conceptual, right? My voice cracked. It transcends the artistic object. So it's not just about entertainment. So therefore, engagement isn't necessarily a criteria you should have to focus on. But then, at the same time, film is a medium that requires engagement because of how much time and focus it needs from you. So during that competition, I realized, or I re-realized, I guess, the importance of engagement. But I need to be aware that because I wasn't as engaged necessarily doesn't mean it lacked value in the film. Um, so, so one of the films I watched was actually engaging enough, but maybe that's because I'm biased, but I'll go back to that. So the first one was I Would Rather Be a Stone. The thing is, it's like a real life image video, not like cartoon 2D, 3D, whatever. It was a lot of shots with voiceovers and rocks breaking and stuff. Oh, the first part I remember, I liked them. I see this technique a lot of still images with continuous sound, or like atmospheric sound, or like sound that you wouldn't necessarily connect. It's like montage, but on different senses, intellectual montage on different senses. It's kind of cool. And then there was also this scene where it looked like a still image with, sound, like another intellectual sense intellectual montage. I don't know if that's the name. But then I realized the still image wasn't still image. It was actually a video, because there was like a dog in the background. I didn't realize, and it moves its head a little. Not in like a creepy way. I was like, oh, it's an actual video. So, I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was like slow motion rocks breaking, rocks, yeah. And then talking about, I really don't remember. Also, a lot of these films are international, right? So, I need to read the subtitle while trying to focus on the visual sound and what they're trying to conceptualize. It's honestly very challenging. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I didn't really get it. So that was I Would Rather Be a Stone. It was from Croatia, I think. Yeah. And there was this other one, Potencias a Deriva. This, I mean, the film itself is interesting because it's an unfinished film. It was it's like a series of recordings, which is supposed to be like an attempt of a person exiled from Brazil, living in U.S., trying to make a film, I think. And it was recordings of different things and then some voiceovers, I think sound effects, I don't remember. But yeah. And then Flower Show, now this was like a cartoon. It's like that elegant kind of drawing. It's like cursive if it was a drawing, if that helps. It's like pastel color, thin lines, a little caricature-esque shapes and size. Can't. It was a bit surreal, but can't really remember. There's like one scene where, well, throughout the film, this like lady and maybe the protagonist, or like labeling a protagonist might not be correct, but she goes like, she pulls the pedal and goes like, he loves me not, but each, he loves me, and between each of that, it's like there's like a new scene, and it goes back to her, and he loves me not. There's like at one point these like three guys doing croquet with an egg. Oh yeah, there was this girl I remember who was like trapped in a cage or something, or has to work, and then she gets chased, or she thought she's getting chased, but these guys were hunting a fox. And the fox gets shot, but she's fine, something like that. And yeah, it's alright. I fell asleep a bit in that one too. All three I've talked so far, I fell asleep at some point. But the last one, Void, Iwasaki Yusuke. I hope every time I'm switching window, my recording is not getting fucked, because if it is, that's sad. But anyways, Void. This film I enjoyed. It was a surreal horror-esque conceptual short film of well, basically what was happening was this girl is like kind of timid, quiet, but she hangs out with like three other girls in like a all girls high school. I think it was all girls, yeah. And they talk, they do random, high school stuff. They even have a scene where like two girls in the background making TikTok. So that's even more recent than my high school experience. I mean, okay, towards the end, there was one girl's like making TikTok, but she was always cringe, so it didn't seem like a normal thing. But seeing that in film, you can see how normalized TikToking is, I guess. Uh, which is sad. I think TikTok sucks. Uh, it feeds onto the short attention span, which I really hate and which has made me suffer. Um, but yeah, and then you see it in like 6-year-olds and these 20-year-olds who cannot focus on watching an hour of 4 films. So it's detrimental. It's evil. But yeah. Anyways, going back to the film. So yeah, she gets invited to karaoke, but she doesn't want to go and stuff, and she doesn't really get in the conversation. But the friends don't. It was nice because the friends don't really ignore her. They try to like bring her back into a conversation, or try to invite her even if she says she doesn't want to go. Like she says, I don't want to go today, so everyone's like, okay, how about tomorrow? We can go karaoke tomorrow, which is like, oh, that was kind of wholesome. But she's like, no, I don't want to go. I'm not in the mood for it. Which, yeah. But the whole story also revolves around the fact that the timid girl's friend has died from tripping and falling into a food bowl that had a little water, which was enough to drown her. And then I was trying to figure out what this film was really trying to say. I think one aspect is definitely death, but I feel it's more to do with desensitization, because she, or at least desensitization or distraction, because the girl, the main character, she seems to be the only one who's being affected and reacting to the death of that girl. To be fair, she was like the closest friend, but it's also absurd how much people don't care about death. And then the thing is, other people die throughout the film, and there's no event or consequence that are shown after each character's death. And I mean, it's like random characters mostly. And like the girls, the friend group, at the end they go about their day. Including the main character, they go to karaoke and sing. Like all the deaths didn't happen while they were in school. Towards the end also, like everyone's like dead. Like I just realized I'm using like a lot. In the gymnasium, there's people on the ground. You see people running, and then you can see far in the background, like little, someone's just dropped dead, and no one cares. They're still practicing running. And there was also this other, I don't know if you call it motif or like recurring thing, where there's this like creepy guy that keeps popping up, who just stares. Like at one point, this creepy guy was like far away on the roof of a building, I think naked, but it was hard to tell. And then at one point, staring on the side, like oh fuck, the recording's mirrored, so it's confusing me. Fuck. I was trying to show what it was like, but like basically this is the face. The face just like pops up on the side of the window, perpendicular, and it's like really weird and just stares at the protagonist. And then there's like one point, some also the guys all look different. That's what's weird. There's like this guy like looking at the girl who's in class from like the ground at the entrance of the school. And then throughout the film it seems like these guys are just her hallucination, like from experienced grief. But then it's an actual guy because one of the faculties tackles him and like pulls him out of the school. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. And also at one point, the guy that's staring behind a desk, the main character is not even there. So clearly, the guy does exist physically. And it's not just like a hallucination. And then also when the guy is behind the desk, one of the girls falls off a window while laughing. It's like, oh. And then at one point, these two guys are talking about negative energy, yeah, and like what brings about negative energy, and then the other guy's like, oh, it's probably like negative emotions like sadness, grief, anger, but actually it's the negative energy is more to do with repressed negative emotions, or more just repression, and that creates I'm just sleepy. That creates negative energy or something. So it seemed like it's when I have to consider the film from a Japanese sensibility, where spirituality is not just a myth, you know. I can see the film actually talking about how negative energy is like an objective reality, but also you could see it from a metaphoric way of how these students today, or people today, at least in Japan, how much they repress their emotions, and then it manifests through maybe like a suicide or something. But then also people don't care anymore, desensitized or distracted, because also at the end the girl sings at the karaoke and she's happy with all the other friends, and the film ends. Something to think about. And the two guys talking. Also, they're random guys, you know, but they do mention the girl that dies at the beginning from the food bowl. Yeah. I need to fix my bedtime. For real. Fuck, what was it? Oh yeah, they said the way to combat this repressed emotion is nothingness. Kyomu. Which in a way seems like you gotta kill yourself to get rid of this repressed emotion. So maybe it relates to this like suicide idea, which is kind of common in Japan, unfortunately. Could be, I don't know. But one thing I realized is a lot of these conceptual films use voiceovers, and I am so sick of that. Just write an essay. Don't make a fucking voiceover. What's the point of the film if the whole film is just voiceover or just text? Maybe there is significance in that. Maybe, I mean, it kind of allows the breakdown of, you know, creating a hero's journey or narrative and being very explicit and being a conceptual film. But I guess one thing is it does lose engagement, and I know engagement is not so valued in conceptual films, but at the same time, it's just God, you know. I mean, Man with the Moving Camera. I mean, okay, I fell asleep in that one, but at least they didn't do voiceovers, you know. They used visuals. They used. I mean, the music was, you know, added later, but the music also adds to this. It's a video essay, or essay video, sorry, essay video that doesn't need words, but the way it's presented still gives you some sort of like message conception. But these experimental films, they just use words. They explicitly provide the concept, but the language is still cryptic. Like, I mean, I guess there's artisticness in that, but, you know, I don't know. I think it's fine if some conceptual films don't follow the same voiceover or text, or also stop using silent films. Oh my god. Uh, I'm gonna give a pass for. I already forgot. Give a pass for Rachel McLean. I like for a few seconds she was um, silent film, you know, but the text was like rainbow, and it was like it adds to the absurdism. I mean, at the same time, I was still like, come on, another showing another silent film. One of the only like modern, um, like media. I don't like to use the word media because I keep thinking media in terms of McLuhan, but I know media also usually means like television film, so I'm using the television film media. But the only media that really made sense for me to use black and silent film was in Legion. This is narrative, but anyways, Legion, because in that scene the character was, I think it was Legion. Legion? No. It was the Nightmare King, or maybe both. They have the ability to control reality. They're powerful to the extent that they can control the genre of the media. That's pretty cool. I know it's less conceptual, but I thought that was a cool way to use silent film. You know, I don't know if it's called technique or just form, I guess. And just I don't know why conceptual experimental films like to use the silent film form, and sometimes like for a few seconds. I guess there's significance in that, but the reason why I don't like it that much is because it seems forced. It's artistic, so they just do it. Same with voiceovers. I feel there's that like obnoxious I'm an artistness in just doing a fucking voiceover over clips of videos, you know. And there's probably a good reason. I mean, I guess one that I described, because it's almost all shorts, medium films I've seen use voiceovers. But Void, the Japanese one, I kind of liked. That didn't use voiceover, but to explain a concept, they used that dialogue of two guys, which, you know, you can kind of critically analyze the sexism in that, possibly. Or the rational voices are two guys discussing, while the rest of the films are female. Or maybe just I think the director's the guy, right? Him putting himself in the film, so I guess it makes sense, you know. But anyways, well, that's not my point. My point is, instead of doing a voiceover, what they did is a dialogue, with dialogue between two characters that never appear again, which also seems a bit cheap. But then that sort of dialogue is so out of place, but I think it's necessary for the film. It wouldn't make sense for the rest of the characters that have been appearing to have that conversation. Also, they're high schoolers. It's yeah, it kind of makes sense. And then the whole point of like dialogue versus voiceover, it does the opposite effect, you know, because it's a dialogue. We don't break the fourth wall. It still maintains within the narrative, you know. So it's a way for the director to address explicitly, but want to keep the story going. Because Void was the only film that was an actual story. Everything else in the short was not. They were conceptual. There were a lot of montages, I would say. Non-narrative montages. Which is, you know, it's cool. I plan to do stuff like that. But, you know, that's not everything. But yeah, that's why. So finally, I finished talking about the films I watched today. But I think I need to talk about films I watched yesterday, because I didn't have a chance to do this yesterday. And that was because right after classes, I went to screening. I did D&D. And then I came back home around like 12 a.m. or something. So I didn't have the energy. Because it was a long day. Although today was a long day too. I can't believe it's surreal when I was in a completely different location today. Like in a different city. That took me, it should have taken me 30 minutes, but it took me an hour and 50 minutes to get there. And then I also had 2 screenings and a class today. Today was a long day. I really like that. But yeah. Fuck. Yesterday, I watched. This was a thematic film called Delirium. The first one, I actually wanted to watch this, and I didn't know it was part of it. It was Storyboard Suli. So Storyboard Suli was basically, the story was presented through storyboards, as the name suggests, instead of actual animation or video recordings. I thought that was an interesting way. And then the story was very surreal. It revolved around 2 characters, Suli and this other guy. But like there's like this big eyeball thing that happens. I already can't remember, but there was like a dream-likeness of illogical, absurd things happening. But then at the end, Suli wakes up and then she's reading an ecology book related to Germany, and then some random German guy comes sits next to her, and the film ends. Um, yeah, I don't know. Was it about nuclear energy? I know some people criticize nuclear energy. Um, oh yeah, it was in Hana Takshi, A Spoiled Rain, where they point out also like okay, fuck, so many thoughts just popped up. I'm going way ahead of myself. There's a scene where they talk about how all these bad stuff happened. Like they talk about the Shinsai, the earthquake, all that nuclear power plant failing, but people forget and they go back to their normal lives and nothing's like fixed. Um, I'm gonna argue with that. First of all, the earthquake. I mean, things normalize. The argument they're making is that things eventually normalize, and gets forgotten. And I really agree with that. But the examples are bad, um, because, or at least the nuclear power plant, because they talk about how it's bad. There was a whole segment on it because they talked about the earthquake that ruined the power plants, motivated the countries in Europe to get rid of the power plant, but not Japan. But the thing is, power plants are still the safest alternative energy option. First of all, the other ones are not alternative energy. They're bad for the environment. They're destructive. Um, and second of all, like it almost the problems that happen are a lot less frequent than a lot of other sources of energy, while still being very efficient in producing energy. The only problem was that there was an earthquake where there was a power plant. That was a bad idea. I mean, that wasn't a bad idea. That was a bad coincidence, a situation that happened. But I know Germany 100% got off power plant nuclear energy, and that's the most why in 2024. I guess it was in 2023 or something, or 2-1. I don't remember, but God, that's so dumb, you know. And then they do demonstrations about ecology and all that. It's ugh. And same thing here, people want to get rid of nuclear energy here. It's but you're, you know, against climate change. As so much hypocrisy and contradictions. But yeah. Now, Spirits of the Black Leaves. It was interesting. I think it was made by some university in Asia. I forgot. Southeast Asia. It was about these. Well, they seem to I think it's something to do with message or theme of these two different tribes that were discovered, that were isolated. I think later they were all re-educated. And then the story focuses on this girl. And talking about girl, I just realized a lot of films have girls as the main character. I don't think I've seen a single film with a boy as a protagonist, except for guys in Hanatakshi. It's interesting observation. I don't know why. But yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah, and this girl has I think anxiety attacks and stuff. And it's oof, a little sad. and then she gets absorbed into this like uh uh in this documentary about the tribe, which we first see in the film. Um, and she seems to be living with her grandma in the rural area. But I feel like she's there for like a mental health break. That sounds really bad. It's like the fake breaks, but she seems like she's there to recover her mental health because she's like having anxiety attacks and stuff. Um, so yeah. And then my thought was like, oh, maybe she has anxiety attacks because she has this like innate biology of being part of that tribe, but she was taken away or something. I don't know. But something like that. And then my second favorite film. This is the film I went to see. It was called Coral. Um, like when I watched it, it was I still enjoyed it. It was alright, but now I have like this weird craving of I want to watch it again. The aesthetic of Coral, um, it almost invites like nostalgia, but I don't have the aesthetics I see are not nostalgic, but it brings out nostalgia in a weird way. The thing is, there's like this scene at a bar, and for that architecture or whatever, it's not even close, but for some reason it reminds me of this one like living room area at my Japanese grandma's house. This one corner of where there's like drawer and like a calendar and a painting and this painting here, and there's like a kitchen there with this area right there. And it's weird. Maybe it reminds me of another aspect. Maybe there's like this restaurant my family used to go to called Saffron, where they had this really good ebi fry. But yeah, the last time I went there, I found out it's closed. But I don't remember um the last time I ate there. So I guess things end. It was like a couple working, a chef and a server, and I guess the chef got really old. But yeah, it is what it is. But anyways, yeah. So Coral, it focused on 4 different people, and like throughout the film, there's this constant singing. And then it turns out at the end, it's this lady. We were focusing on one of them who also does the violin and has been performing. She also performs the singing. So the film, I like the transition of this audio where the film has the audio in like a voiceover esque-ness, where it's like she's singing the film, and then at the end, the singing becomes through the camera or through the recording. So it's like she's singing now, and like we're seeing her singing, but before we were watching the film based on the song she was singing. That makes sense. And then there's moments where like this bartender is collecting big shells, and then that like this bartender is also the one at the bar that brings out nostalgia. And they're at this like little restaurant, um, with like where the violin lady performs, and there's like only three people, one being a child, which is also another. Oh, all three of them are focused actually throughout the film. So there's like five people. There's a child as well. Yeah, the child is like kind of melancholic and sad. And at one point, I think she's like, or he or she, I can't remember, is the grandson of the old lady who's singing. At one point, the kid grabs the violin. The kid leaves the performance because it seems like he's tired. And then while he's sleeping, he dreams or she dreams of getting the violin and then breaking or throwing it away and then taking it back out and then breaking the violin, putting it back in. But that was all just a film. Um, anything else? There's like this lady that dances while the violin lady is singing, and the dancing lady is actually a bird keeper. Kind of cool. And then there's this other guy who has like a tape on his ear because he damaged it. I think it was like a driver, some kind of. It's like everyone has their own life, but they're here today while the lady's singing, performing. It was like a nice film. There's probably more to it conceptually, but I don't remember what they talked about because it was like the singing was the also the voiceover of describing the concept, which at least it was singing. It was like an interesting. There's no other instruments or music. It's just like a stretched singing, like I don't know what you call it. It's like an Asian-esque, but I don't think the film is Asian. It's Bernhidstaten. Where the fuck is that? I don't know. And I guess I can't translate the webpage thing. So Coral, like while I was watching the film, it was like mid, but I don't know why. Looking back, I kind of want to watch it again. I wonder how many likes I'd get saved. What's the best one? And this will be the last thing I say. The best one was In Dreams, which was like a cartoon. It was like super surreal, but the coloring was like dreamy, you know, it has that like the glowy spreading colors of like dreams. And there's like this weird creature with those three red lines where it's like incomplete square rectangle, and the two edges lines would move like like legs, and it reappears at certain different scenes in this surreal film where there's no real narrative. And there's like some consistent appearances, like this person who ends up burning their entire body and they're like wrapped around their bed or deathbed. There's this like water creature that talks about this existential stuff about death, but in like a doctor manner, like a nurse or some like life coach or therapist who's trying to help this person who's like all burned, like get ready to die or something. And then in this dreamscape, 2 times this or 3 times this tree character comes up, where it's a tree with lips by the trunk, and starts talking about something really relatable but like existential, and with like a very casual almost it's a guy's voice, but you know, like the way they talk is like you know, the way I talk, but a bit more. I don't want to say casual because this is casual. a bit more something, Yeah, like they do be just talking. God, this is a long video. So yeah, I really like that because it was surreal, and then it's really, I don't believe that film is supposed to be like a simple conceptual film, but more so exploration of just different ideas, like a trail of thought, I would say. And then certain points reflecting on some existential stuff, some random stuff, and then another dreamscape, going on this piano. Oh, I like the zoom-ins. Different points, they have a fruit, a banana, or an orange in different scenes. And it really zooms in. And then when it zooms in, eventually it leads to a different scene. I like that. Yeah. So In Dreams, that was the best out of Delirium, which was the themed film. They say Delirium, but it seems more like imagination. The one I watched today, the compilation was Short Competition 3. It was, I think, the most boring sets of film I watched so far this week, except for Void. Void, I didn't fall asleep. Everything else, I kind of fell asleep. Sad not seeing the directors. Oh, and one last comment. For Rachel McClay, it was apparently like Critics' Choice, and a critic came up to talk a bit, and we even watched like a video essay at the end. I mean, the video essay, the points she makes not bad, but it never goes too in depth into like the actual techniques or choices of, action the directors, editors made, and cameraman made, camera woman or whatever. Yeah. And the thing is, I don't like critics. Because, or especially art critics, because their art is supposed to be something you try to interpret, unless there's like a very clear theme or message that needs to be told. Like 1984, Animal Farm, Fahrenheit 451, 451. I don't know. Or like the film. I don't remember the actor's name. The one with the spider. God damn it. The weird film with spider. Spider and doppelgangers. Enemy. By Jake Gyllenhaal, yes. Jake Gyllenhaal. Enemy. That has a very explicit message, I think, or concept, I think, which is like the struggle of cheating, all that. Like cheating, infidelity, and all that. Yeah, that's it. Infidelity. Oh my god. What am I saying? That was one of the themes for Harmontown. Whoa, holy shit. I think it's cool that I'm recording my brain like decaying into sleep slumber. Um, but yeah, I just don't like critics. 'Cause art is supposed to be interpretive, you know. You're supposed to experience art. And critics, they get paid. They get to, they get paid to literally tell everyone what to think. Like, and I feel like a lot of critics don't really know like have the technical knowledge of the art they're critiquing. They just critique. Like, I could make a bullshit ass essay about, oh, the film is anti-capitalist and anti-colonialist. You know, I do that all the time. I have to pay for that, or my mom is paying for that. But, oh, I guess she has paid. Maybe it happened long ago, and I'm 30 or but yeah. I don't like critics. They suck balls. Unless I could get a job as a critic. But oh my god, I would hate myself so much. Unless it's really good pay, then I'll swallow my pride for a year and act like I'm gonna be a critic for years. But yeah, that's it. Okay.